During the wee hours of the 15th of June, this was seen in the skies over Australia. The green colour indicates that the meteor was probably composed of iron and nickel, and it's thought that the size of the object could be anywhere between a basketball and, say, an armchair. Due to its relative slow speed and the fact that no impact was reported, astronomers believe that the meteor probably glanced off our atmosphere and continued on its path through the solar system. Hello, and welcome to Strange Times number 23, again. It's been a little while since I have posted on this channel, and it's not because I'm getting sick of the channel or anything like that. It's just that I've decided to start a new channel, and I'm just working on that. It's going to be pretty much non-paranormal, and it's a channel where I can act like an idiot. And I've got stuff like, I don't know if you remember The World of Rocks, that little clip I did. It's got that sort of stuff on it. So when I've got that up and running, I'll be sure to let you guys know. Some of you might find it kind of entertaining, I guess. But for now, let's have a look at some weird shit. The iceberg that sank the Titanic. 108 years after the Titanic's doomed maiden voyage, a new image of the iceberg that sank her has surfaced. It was taken 2 days before the tragedy by Captain W. Wood of the SS Etonian, which was a passenger ship that had crossed the Atlantic around the same time as the Titanic. Wood had written the coordinates at which the image was taken on the back of the picture before sending it, along with a handwritten note to his grandfather after reaching New York. Quote, "I am sending you a sea picture, the Etonian running before a gale, and the iceberg that sank the Titanic. We crossed the ice tracks 40 hours before her, and in daylight, so we saw the ice easily, and I got a picture of it. Both items are expected to fetch around $15,000 at auction." So it's not exactly paranormal, but it is bizarre that there's actually a photograph of the iceberg that caused that tragedy. That's amazing. And when you look at it, the iceberg looks really small to me. I know what they say, 80% of it's under the water, but it really does look small. And so because I did have a pretty good look around for news articles, strange news articles, but I couldn't really find much, hence the iceberg story. So what I've done is I've just dug up a couple of paranormal encounters that I've got tucked away, and I'll read you them. The first one is an orb encounter, and everyone's like, oh fucking hell, orbs, boring. But this one's, I thought it was interesting. Here we go. I've never mentioned this story to anyone. I'm not a supernatural weirdo like us, but I just wanted to find out if anyone else has ever experienced anything like this. When I was around 10 years old in 1972, I was laying in my bed in total darkness. It was in the middle of the house with no ability for headlights or any other such outside lights or effects. And then I saw a ball, a sphere of white light, about the size of a softball. It simply zapped and appeared over the foot of my bed in the middle of the room. It was not a reflection of any sort. It was an orb of white light hovering in the middle of the room. I was terrified, and it sat hovering for a few seconds, then darted over to the wall at the end of my bed and splattered against the wall. It then went straight up on the wall into a vertical-like line, then came back down and went completely horizontal, and then it retracted again and zapped back into the middle of the room, and then became a sphere or a ball again of the same size, then simply flew up nearly to the ceiling and vanished. I was almost paralyzed with fear as a kid, and so I went running into my mum's room to tell her about it. Of course, she did not believe me and said I was just having a bad dream, but I begged her to come into my room and lay with me, and she did. Guess what? It came back while she was in the bed with me, and she almost had a nervous breakdown. It did the same thing as she also watched. She's gone now, but as long as she was alive, she and I talked about that fearful time, wondering what it was. It was not natural. Now, I'm no expert on ball lightning, but as far as I know, that's not how ball lightning acts. And also the fact that it did it twice, exactly in the same manner, and also there was multiple witnesses, or two. Two's multiple. It's more than one, right? And so I thought, yeah, that one's a really good story for those reasons. So there you go. Hope you liked it. Let's move on to the next one. This one is from Florida. The Florida Green Blob. This story takes place, I think, in the summer of 1995, making me 9 years old. Practically every other year, my family would take a trip to Florida. We would usually go to Disney World, but my mother was getting sick of that. So that year, we actually didn't go to Disney World, to my sister's and my dismay. One of these days, on holiday, we were on a beach. I don't remember what the beach was called, but the people sitting next to us mentioned it being the bottom tip of Florida. After a while of nothing happening, everybody was either in the ocean or sunbathing silently. A woman sitting to the left of us pointed past us, to our right, asking, "What is that?" We all turned and looked to a surprisingly vacant corner of the beach. There were no people down there, but what was there was something really strange. We all got up to get a better look, very quickly forming a crowd around it. If I had to describe the creature we saw in one word, that word would be cartoonish. I will never forget what it looked like. It was green and looked like a ball of slime, about the size of a basketball. It had tentacles resting on the ground around it, with two longer tail-like tentacles sticking out of its back. The thing that was the most bizarre and made it look cartoonish were its eyes, which were on stalks that stood about a foot off its body. The eyes looked creepily human and just looked at us in an almost disinterested way. The other strange thing about it was its mouth, which never seemed to close. And where you'd expect teeth were just tooth-shaped fleshy protrusions. No one, not even the creature, seemed scared, and after a while, it lazily slithered back into the ocean. That has got to be one of the most bizarre cryptids I've ever heard of. Basketball, Slimeball, with two stalks, with eyes on the end of them sticking out of it, 1 foot in the air, tentacles all around it, 2 tentacles for tails, human-like eyes, and no fear. Everyone was just like, "Hey dude, sup?" I'm just going to slither back in the ocean here. Take it easy, man. See you, Susan. Catch you next time, Bob. I think that's going to be one of my favourite cryptids so far. Although there is this cryptid. This one's from Australia. Ozzie blue cryptid. I'm not entirely sure on the exact date of when this happened, but it would have been around 1999, maybe in spring or summer. Living in Australia, you are bound to see some strange things from time to time, although most have an explanation behind them. This one's different. I was young at the time, probably 9 or so. Another one around 9. All of these stories have been 10, 9 and 9 of age. Doesn't mean anything. I just noticed it. So, she was probably 9 or so. And she says, "My family was having a barbecue in the backyard of our house. We were all sitting at this table on the patio, eating and talking, not really paying attention to anything around us. Suddenly, I heard a plop noise coming from the leaf cover in the garden along the back fence. I immediately turned and looked to see what had made the noise. To my horror, I saw a small blue creature look at me and then run into the shrubbery. It was about 15 centimeters tall, so about 6 inches, and it was on all fours. It didn't have any toes that I could see. Its face was vertically oval shaped, with small black eyes. It had a long, protruding nose and a grimacing mouth filled with almost needle-like teeth. The outer of the face was dark blue, sort of like a mane, but it looked hairless. The rest of the face and body was light blue. The best I can describe the body is like that of a lion, except with short legs and no tail, and it was less sculpted. I looked at my brother and he said, "What was that?" He had seen it too. When my mum calmed us down, she took my brother and me to separate rooms of the house and got us to draw what we had seen. We both drew the same thing. I was terrified for the rest of the night, and to this day I still don't know what the creature was that I saw, but it still gives me the creeps. My first thoughts about that one when I was reading through it was, it's probably some sort of a gecko, because the oval head with the little eyes, and it kind of sounded like a gecko to me, and also geckos can lose their tails. So that was my first thought, but it was blue, and she said that the head was a vertical, sort of like I can imagine it like almost like a human head, sort of with forward-facing eyes, if you know what I mean. That would be bizarre to see something like that. And that's all I've got for today, my lovely friends. I will still be posting videos on this channel. It's just slowed up at the moment because like I said, I'm working on a new channel. So stick around. I'm definitely still keen to share any paranormal stories that I come across. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time in a few weeks. See ya.